smile, who asked me a question. Krishnaji, where have you been all these years? You know, it's been 17 years since I came to Hyderabad doing my earlier talk. It's been 17 years now. And in these 17 years, many of your love has not changed even a bit. You know, your love has remained so much, and your support has remained so much, and such a joy. And in the same way, our love towards you has either remained or grown, in fact. And that is what keeps us going on doing this work over and over again. You know, in these 17 years for both Preethaji and me, the life journey has been very, very beautiful. We have become parents. We have a daughter, Loka. We created Ekam and we threw it open to the world. Ekam is a place where 24,000 people can meditate together, can have transcendental mystical experiences, connection to the divine, to the universal intelligence, and can impact human consciousness to create world peace. We have also created very beautiful, powerful, thought-provoking, revolutionary teachings in these years that are really transforming the world and that's impacting the world. You know, our work today is present in close to 100 countries. And people from all over the world come to us to learn, to transform and to grow. We also have created wonderful, beautiful, powerful, transcendental, mystical processes where your consciousness opens up to the intelligence that's prevailing outside there and for wonderful synchronicities to happen in your life. We also have opened up two very large charitable foundations along with my daughter Loka, who is 16 years old now. One is the World Youth Changemakers, as many of you know here. It's a program that is done in schools, in colleges and in universities across the globe. We work from children from the age of 9 to the age of 28. And in the last 24 months, we have impacted the lives of close to 120,000 kids across the world. We also have One Humanity Care, which is our social initiative to transform the villages that are present around Ekam city, that are present around our campuses, because it's just not important that our well-being is good and that we are living comfortably, but I think it's a huge responsibility on each and every one of our shoulders that we make sure that the people around us, the people who are in need, they too are helped. So we have adopted 1,000 villages and are impacting close to 3 million people's lives in these villages by providing them water, by providing them education, by providing them free eye care and so many other initiatives. So these past 17 years, it's been a rebirth for both of us as parents, as transformational leaders, as mystics who can impact others' consciousness, as philanthropists, and now as authors of a book, The Four Sacred Secrets. You know, all these 17 years, one of the most important things that has kept us going, that has kept our energies high, that has driven us, is the passion to impact human consciousness, is the passion to bring about happiness and joy in human beings. It's the joy to bring about joy in families and in individuals. Who are we otherwise? We are people who need to learn to live in a joyful state. We are people who must learn to live beautifully with our family, with our friends, with our organizations, in the places we work, and as leaders. That's the most important thing. And why is it so important in today's scenario? Let us understand, you know, it's very nice that all of us have come here and we have gathered on this beautiful occasion. But we all need to understand that the world is going through a very massive crisis. I know that many of you here know it, but it is important to understand that this crisis that the world is going through is very soon going to be at our doorstep. It's going to be in each and every one of our homes. It's going to be a challenge that we are going to face in our lives. As we are talking now, the Amazon forest is on fire. I know that many of you should be knowing it. It's been on massive fires the last 4 weeks. 9,500 forest fires have happened in Amazon alone. In the last 4 weeks, 1,350 square kilometers of Amazon has disappeared, which is the size of 2 Tokyo cities. Amazon is the lungs of the earth, just like we have lungs and we breathe, and because of our lungs we are able to be alive. Our lungs cleanses our air and gives us pure oxygen to be alive and to be healthy. In the same way, Amazon is the lungs of the earth, of our Mother Earth. And Amazon contributes to 20% of the oxygen that we all consume. You know, the current oxygen levels in this earth is around 21%. Once upon a time it used to be around 31-32% when dinosaurs and all the large animals were present. But today it's 21%, and if oxygen levels start to drop, we as human beings will slowly become extinct. The biggest epidemic in today's world is anxiety and stress. 70% of the global population, irrespective of religion, caste, culture, nationality, and age, are suffering from anxiety and stress. It's the biggest epidemic. 17%, only 17% of the millennials are kids who are born from 1980 onwards to the 2000s. Only 17% of these kids feel they are connected to their parents, to their friends, or to anyone around them, and they have trust in this world. 83% of kids born between these years do not trust anybody. They do not trust their parents, they do not trust their grandparents, their uncles, their aunts, their neighbors, the governments, the media. They trust no one. They are in a totally disconnected state. Divorces are at its highest. Over 60% of marriages are ending up in divorce. Child trafficking, highest. Child abuse, highest. Domestic violence is at its peak. Drug abuse is at its peak. The world is going through a massive crisis. As we are talking here, young generation are committing suicide, not knowing what to do with their lives. They are so unhappy within themselves. Many of us even do not know the answer. Why are we living? What are we doing? We are so much caught up in our stress and anxiety of making money, wanting to show off to the other, making sure that we dress up in a particular way, we look in a particular way, we eat, we should be here, we should be there. We just do not know what we are doing with our lives. And why is that? The reason for that is we need to become connected human beings. We need to awaken to connection. We need to awaken to true love. The biggest problem today is disconnection. So if we have to move from disconnection to connection, and if we have to really become people who are happy as we are communicating to our husband, as we are communicating to our wife, to our children, to our parents, and to our friends, to our colleagues, and to our bosses, then we need to have a massive transformation in our consciousness. We need to transform. We need to transform the way we think. We need to transform the way we live our lives. we need to transform our inner world, because our inner world is our true experience. This is where all the experiences happen. As you are listening to me now, you are experiencing me within you. So this needs to change. We need to change here. So the most important shift that the human race must make today is a shift in its human consciousness.
We need a revolution in our consciousness. We just heard from Krishnaji about the current world scenario. But why are we doing what we are doing? If you look at ancient myths, there is a war that is being fought. A war that is being fought between gods and demons. There is a war that is being fought either in this world, sometimes the war is being fought in another world, sometimes it is being fought in heaven. But where is this war actually being fought? It is being fought in your consciousness. It is being fought in our consciousness. To us, and like this. Both the mics are activated. I don't know. You're able to hear me? Yes. The war is actually being fought within us, within our consciousness. To us, consciousness is a spectrum. On one side of the consciousness is I consciousness. On the other side of consciousness is one consciousness. And there are only two states from which we experience life. There are only two states of consciousness. When you experience life from I consciousness, what happens is your entire thinking is revolving around you. You are engrossed with yourself. Your experience of life is very limited. It is my worries, my anxieties, my fears, my desires, my obsessions. And our entire thinking is me, and me. Experience of life in our consciousness is very limited. As you experience life living in our consciousness, your creativity declines, your love disappears, your relationships become very fragile. You become an individual incapable of connection because you are self-centric in nature, because you are engrossed with yourself. And it becomes a breeding ground for your anger, it becomes a breeding ground for your anxiety, for your fears, for your sadness, for your loneliness. And hate. But when you live your life from a state of the other side of the spectrum, which is one consciousness, in one consciousness you do not experience separation, but in fact you experience deep connection. You feel expanded to include others. You feel expanded to include your family, to include your partner, to include your children, to include your parents. It is a state where you feel expanded, and in that state of connection, life feels very pleasurable. Life feels very joyful. And there is a meaning to life, there is a purpose to life, and you're very happy to be alive. Let me share with you a very ancient fable, Indian fable, where there is a frog that is living in a village well, dirty, murky village well. Accidentally, a sea crab gets washed into the village well, and it meets the frog. And the frog introduces itself to the crab as, I belong to this well, this is my well. It's very proud of its well. While the crab introduces itself as a crab that has lived in a huge water body, a humongous water body, which is the sea. Immediately, the frog becomes very suspicious, takes a 1-foot leap and asks the crab, "Is your sea this big?" The crab says, "No, sea is huge, it is humongous." And then the frog moves to one end of the well and takes several leaps to the other end of the well, and then looks again at the crab and asks, "Is your sea this big?" The crab says, "No, sea is a huge and humongous water body and you can never measure it." On listening to this, the frog said, "You're lying. There can be nothing bigger than my will." When we live in states of high consciousness, we are pretty much like a frog. Pretty much like the frog, denying and resisting reality. We deny and resist our appearance. We deny and resist our status. We deny and resist our life. We deny and resist our relationships. We deny and resist how our children behave, their attitudes. We constantly deny reality. When you are like the frog, when you are in high consciousness, you are like the frog. Just like a frog which drove out the crab, you drive out people away from your life. You drive out your partner, you drive out your wife, you drive out your friends, you drive out, constantly you drive out people from your sense of self. And you immerse yourself in suffering states. You become a breeding ground, or your consciousness becomes a breeding ground for suffering states of anger, fear, anxiety, loneliness, insecurity. And you get back into living into these states because you are habituated living in that well. You are used to living in suffering states and you get back to living in it again and again in your life. We live disconnected lives. We live in states of suffering and we constantly deny reality. We identify ourselves with our past experiences alone, live in fear or live in humiliation. We identify ourselves with few things and become very possessive. Or probably we identify ourselves with one particular religion, one particular ideology and live as though the rest are our enemies. We also identify right now as being a separate human species and we're destroying the world. We are destroying this earth. But is this the way to live life? Can there be yet another experience of life? Can we live our life from a beautiful state? Can we experience life from a place of joy, from a place of love, from a place of connection? How would life be if that becomes our natural state? How would life be that we are able to walk out of suffering state as and when it arises and nurture a beautiful state in our consciousness? I would like to share a journey of a person who went through a journey in India, actually with Krishnaji, an inner journey. When he was in his high school, he wanted to quit education. And he picked up a lot of courage, went to his dad and explained to him that he does not want to continue his education. His dad, as every other dad who would respond, he says, "No, you're supposed to finish your education." But the boy was not willing to listen. Finally, the man agreed, the father agreed. The boy had decided to go and work in a petroleum refinery very far from home. And the father agreed that the boy sent 50% of his earnings that he earned to him. The boy just wanted to leave home, just wanted to quit education, and he was very happy doing it. He said, 50% I can send it to you. As soon as he reached the petroleum refinery, as soon as he saw the environment and the place and began life there, he felt it was not his place. So he calls up his dad and says, "I want to come back." This time, The
నాన్న
father
నేను తిరిగి
refuses. He
వచ్చేస్తానన్నాడు.
says, no, you're not
ఇంటికి
coming
వచ్చేస్తాను, అక్కడ
back.
పని చేయను.
You have made a decision, you have left home, and you need to be
నిర్ణయం
there.
తీసుకొని వెళ్ళావు అక్కడ పని చేస్తానని.
His dad was heartless in his response.
ఈ అబ్బాయి అనుకున్నాడు మా నాన్నకి
Week after week,
ఏమీ లేదు.
for several months, the boy calls up his dad saying that he
వారాలు,
wants to
నెలల
get back.
తరబడి అడుగుతున్నా వాళ్ళ
But the boy
నాన్న
refused.
ఈ అబ్బాయి ఇంటికి
So the man
అక్కడే
refused.
ఉండి
The
పని
father
చేయి,
refused.
అక్కడే ఉండి పని చేయించి.
And after 6 months, the boy stops calling.
6 నెలల తర్వాత కాల్ చేయడం ఆపేశాడు.
He comes back to his home hotel,
వాళ్ళ పేరెంట్స్
and his dad gave him a check of $1 million. He's from the
నాన్న ఏం
US.
చేశాడంటే
Check of $1 million. And the boy looked at it, and the father said, "It is your money which you have earned, which I have reinvested, invested and reinvested, and it has become $1 million now, and you can take it."
డాలర్లుగా నేను నీకు తయారు చేసి ఇచ్చాను.
For this man, young man, the $1 million did not matter much then. So he just said, "I don't need this money, you can have it."
లెక్కలేదన్నమాట. తీసి అలా పడేసాడు.
Internally, what happened to this boy was
అంతరంగంలో ఈ అబ్బాయి యొక్క అనుభవం
everything about life became about achievement. He wanted to achieve in his life. And finally, he found a woman who was very beautiful, and he wanted to achieve her. So they get into a relationship, they get married, and they have a
అలా
child.
ప్రేమించి పెళ్లి చేసుకున్నాడు. మంచి
Once the child is born, his wife demands that he spends more time with the family. For him, it felt like a lot of control.
బిడ్డతో సమయం
And then he decided to separate. So both of them decided to separate and go their ways.
గొడవ అయింది.
This man comes to India.
విడిపోయారు.
He meets Krishnaji and goes through a powerful inner journey.
ఇతను కొన్ని సంవత్సరాల తర్వాత భారతదేశం
He was going through a process because he was not able to understand why he was not able to create any relationship in his life. Why he was not able to nurture any relationship in his life.
ఎందుకు నాకు ఏ బాంధవ్యాలు
In this entire journey, in the Limitless Field experience, he had a very profound experience of compassion in his heart.
అతను
In his own words, he was sharing it with me in Miami when I met him. He said,
మయామిలో
"There was so much of compassion that was flooding in my heart, an experience that I have never had before in my life.
ఏం చెప్పాడంటే
I was feeling compassionate to everything or every being I saw. I was feeling compassionate to the frogs in the campus,
క్యాంపస్ లో
to everyone who was there around me, and it was an explosive state of compassion."
మీద కరెక్ట్ వచ్చింది. తట్టుకోలేని
So this man goes back
ఈ కరుణానుభూతి తరువాత
to visit his daughter. His daughter is 8 years old now,
ఇతని
and he goes back to visit his daughter. To the daughter, he's more a stranger because he has not spent time with her, he has not been with her, he has not been a dad.
బిడ్డకి
With his explosive state of compassion, he begins to connect with his daughter.
రెండేళ్లప్పుడు వదిలేసి
He's able to feel her. He's able to feel her insecurity. He's able to feel her worries. He's able to feel her stress around him.
బిడ్డ యొక్క అంతరంగం తెలుస్తుంది.
He says, "I decided that day I would spend a week every month with my daughter." So he takes up an apartment in the city where his daughter lives and visits her and stays or spends time with her
నా బిడ్డ
once a week,
బాగా ఇంటి దగ్గర
every week, once every month for a week.